Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Acacia Courtney here to look at this 10-race program. And of course, yesterday we did draw for Saturday. We have a big stakes action on tap, actually 3 graded stakes. We have the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale, the Grade 3 Marshes River, and the Grade 3 Hal's Hope. So lots to look forward to.
Lots to look forward to, and those stakes did come up very tough. Some really classy horses in all of those fields as well. We've been started hitting the books last night, all of us, and really looking forward to an excellent 12-race card on Saturday.
And looking to today, we will PDALO will kind of bring you up to speed on some of the scratches and changes, but do want to remind everybody today Joel Rosario is off of his mount, so we will try to keep you up to date with some of those rider changes. But we look ahead to tomorrow before we get to today's card. And, well, it's Beat the Expert Day, and I don't think I can do any worse than I did last time I did this.
Well, you had one winner last time, so that's always a good thing.
I think it was a 6-5 favorite in the last race.
You know, it's better than none. It's better. It is. The Beat the Expert Days are a lot of fun, but they're a lot of pressure. And, Gabby, what we said coming on, either the key is to have a terrible day today and try to make it good tomorrow, or maybe just it'll all be bad. But tomorrow is Friday the 13th, so maybe that's a good sign for you.
Yeah, it probably has like the opposite effect. Maybe it'll be a good luck day for me. At least let's hope. But actually, last week it was a record number of participants. So this thing is getting more and more popular as the weeks progress into the championship meet. So you have to go online and enter the contest and try to beat me tomorrow.
Yes, we have 10 races on tomorrow's card. And if you do pick more winners than Gabby, I don't know though, she seems like she's ready to fire. We are not in agreement at all tomorrow, so one of us hopefully will have a good day, and hopefully it will be you on Beat the Expert Day, but you could get a chance to win one of those awesome polos that say that you beat the expert.
And go to gulfstreampark.com, or you can go to our social media pages at Facebook /GulfstreamPark. Use that hashtag #BeatTheExpert. So looking forward to that tomorrow. And as we get to today's card, we do only have one carryover, but we start our special wagers off in the first race here, and that is the Rolling Super High 5 in the first. Only one scratch of the outside horse, so 9 horses to start things off. Of course, race 1 does kick off the early pick 5, races 1 through 5. That is a mandatory payout each and every day. As we look ahead to race 5, it starts the 20-cent Rainbow 6, a small carryover building in that over $12,000 there. Race 6 kicks off the final pick 5 of the day. That is a 50-cent base wager. If it is not hit, it does carry over to the next day. We are fast and firm, 10 races on tap, and a 12:35 p.m. first post. So, as always, we start off with your early pick 5, and let's see your ticket.
All right, we'll give a look at my ticket to start it off here. You see early in the wagering that number 7 Regal Kitten is taking all of the early money. That is one of the horses that I used, but I did also have some interest in the 5 Akati Wildcat. So 2 deep to start it off, 2 deep in the second race, and then I did use 3 in the third race with Hassa, Wolf Gourmet, and Lily's Answer. I think any of those 3 horses might have a shot to pop up and win. 2 deep in the fourth, and then 3 deep with Collateral Kitten, Kitten's Dilemma, and Consumer Confidence for Chad Brown, who does look to be the horse to beat. Nice and affordable for $36.
Okay, and as you said, the number 7 Regal Kitten here is the early favorite, early money at 9 to 5. A mile and a 16th on the turf for this non-winners of 2 lifetime event. And I do think that Regal Kitten is the horse to beat, Acacia, but you landed on the 5 Akati Wildcat coming here from Woodbine.
I did, and I think that this is, of course, always a little bit of guess. We've talked about it so many times about how horses will transfer their form shipping in from Woodbine. But I do think that this horse, he has a little bit of an edge because he's been working well on the Palm Meadows turf course, and he's also run on the Gulfstream Park turf course before, and he fared pretty well. He finished third, beaten just by a length and a half behind Mighty Mo and Sir Dudley Diggs, who did go on to win the Queen's Plate. So he was keeping good company in that one race over the Gulfstream Park turf. He also does have his only career win on the turf, even though it was up at Woodbine. So I think he might be a little bit easier to guess about how his form will transfer in here. He does have John Velasquez in the saddle as well.
He's taken a drop in class his whole career. He's faced Maiden Special Weight Company and Allowance Company, so now he's in for that $30,000 tag, and that's something that we've kind of been mentioning throughout the meet is that the majority of horses who have success from Woodbine have been dropping in class. So maybe that's the recipe for the 5 Akati Wildcat. But I was interested in a horse that does come out of a race last time out. We'll go on the 29th of December. We'll go back to that video spotlight replay of Extreme Justice and Market Strength. And I figured maybe these two horses would get a little bit of play. Now, the 3 Extreme Justice did finish 3rd in that event, and I thought that he was actually running on quite well. He is the number 4 horse. He kind of angles out there and then tries to kind of close. It wasn't that strong of a pace, though, so I thought his last 2 races have been tactically kind of against him. But where I liked the 6 Market Strength out of that race was we couldn't really show the first half of the race, but he was extremely ranked the entire first half of a mile, and then he finally got to settle. But if this is a horse that gets a little bit stronger of a pace, a little target to run into, I think he can improve second start for Armando de la Cerda, who I think has been doing a great job here.
He has, and there does promise to be a little bit of pace in front of him. The 8 Shiny Badge has some speed, and the 1 Land Ho has shown quite a bit of speed running on the synthetic, so maybe he will get a little bit more pace in front of him today. I did think that he was so hard to rate last time, and I wanted to see another solid performance from him because I would have liked to see a little bit more. I did think that Extreme Justice closed nicely in the stretch, and so I did throw him on there. But the number 7 Regal Kitten, we alluded to it earlier, he certainly does look to be the horse to beat on paper. He found a good track last time out, and he was so wide. And looking at the rest of the races that day at Churchill Downs, it seemed like everybody kind of was staying off of the hedge. It was a good turf. Maybe the inside was a little bit deeper. So it seemed like they were staying off the hedge. That didn't really fare too well for Regal Kitten, who had to be so wide.
He was very wide, and it looked like he was drifting in the final turn, too, and the rider just didn't correct him. He just let him drift wider and wider, and I agree with you. Watching the day, it looked like a very soft turf. It was really kicking up, and people were staying maybe 2 or 3 paths off the rail or off the hedge. So maybe that was all against him, and he is taking a pretty big drop in class. You and I both respect him, thinking that he probably is the horse to beat and definitely one to use in the early pick 5. As we get to the second race on the card, it's 7 furlongs on the main track for this maiden special weight event. Well, Acacia, how did you see this race?
Well, this is, I think, a wide open one. I went to the outside with the number 7, Majestic Mayara, and there are a couple of things I like about this horse and a couple things that I don't. Now, she's still a maiden after 8 starts, so that's certainly something not to like. She was second last time out after pressing the pace. She does have a little bit of versatility, but something that I do really like is that even after those 8 starts, she's still in maiden special weight. They haven't dropped her to the maiden claiming yet. They still have some faith in her. Paco Lopez stays aboard, who rode her last time, and I do think that she'll sit a nice trip from the outside, pressing the speed of Curlin's Image. She does promise to be on the lead.
I just couldn't go back to her today. And look, I don't toss her. I use her third, but I thought her race 2 starts back at Gulfstream Park West. It was kind of an easy field. And then she came back. It was a slightly tougher field, but I just don't see any follow through from her. She looked extremely content following the winner home that day throughout the stretch. So I decided to get a little creative in this race. The 2 Slipper Orchid is one that I was really interested in for Brendan Walsh. I love the cutback in distance for this horse. She's coming from a 1.16 miles at Churchill, cutting back to 7/8. And yeah, she was well beaten last time out. She ran off and then stopped. She was beaten 20 lengths. But it looks like she's really progressing in terms of her workout. She sits atop a nice bullet workout in 48 flat at Palmettos. And for what it's worth, Brendan Walsh, I didn't show this stat, but from routes to sprints on the dirt with his maidens, he's 4 for 10, a positive ROI of over $10. So that stat was enough for at least me to get interested in a horse that probably will be a decent price.
And you can certainly get a good price on that horse, and you probably will get a good price on another horse that you use that I took away and see approach with, and that's the 6 Broken Meadow. Yet again, guessing form coming from Woodbine. She did actually run very well in her debut, which was March of 2015 here at Gulfstream. Then she wasn't seen again till she came back in December on the synthetic last out.
She's a 5-year-old mare with 2 starts, so that's not something that's too encouraging. But I wanted to go back and look at her video spotlight replay of her race last time out, and this was on the Depita up at Woodbine on the 3rd of December, and we can see her kind of down on the inside. She's the number 4 horse that day, and overall she did she looked like she was actually in that position, but then a horse just in front of her came over, and she kind of had to steady just a bit on the backstretch going into the final turn, and then she just continues to find more and more trouble. That seam in front of her just continuing to kind of close, and from there the rider goes to kind of encourage her a little bit and give her a couple of whips on her outside, and he almost misjudged her response to the whip, because she responds very well and she has no room to go throughout the stretch. So the rider just reserving her throughout the stretch. And again, this was a race off of a pretty sizable layoff, and she's got back dirt form that could suggest she should improve second off the layoff.
She certainly could improve second off the layoff, and that might have been an educational experience for her coming off that layoff, and only her second career start. That was only her second time on the racetrack. She did get some dirt in her face. She did encounter that trouble and have to try and navigate through it, which unfortunately she wasn't able to. Maybe that was a bit of human error as well. She has Luis Saez climbing aboard today, so you can certainly give her some play on that. Like I said, I took the wait and see approach, but we might see some good things from her.
You using the 3 Curlin's Image instead, who has been proven against her maiden special weight company, and she does have the speed in here.
She has the speed, and that's why I put her on. Honestly, I don't have any faith at all in her to get the win in here today, because she's had 4 starts and she showed some speed, and then she ends up just drifting or stopping, and other horses closing outside of her, but she has the speed in here.
She does have the speed, and that is, even though it's kind of a smaller, potent field, we are all over the map there. So it's funny how we can differ in opinions as we get to the third race. A mile and a 16th, $30,000 claiming tag for non-winners, a 2 lifetime. And I thought this race, there are probably 2 or 3 horses in here that I had some interest in, one of them being your top selection, the 6 Lily's Answer.
And this one ran very well last time out to be beaten just ahead at Aqueduct. Now it's been claimed into the barn of Mike Maker. We know that Mike Maker does very well first off the claim as well. She kind of makes a lateral move in terms of class as well, but I think that she's been running against some pretty solid competition, and I did like that race last time.
Mike Maker first off the claim with his turf distance horses, 25%, positive ROI, 152 starters. So he's consistent as the day is long with his turf claims. Always one to definitely revert back to if you are in any bit of question, especially on the turf. Now, the 3 Wolf Gourmet was one that interests me. You use her on the ticket as well. I like her for 2 reasons. One, she's got tracking speed, and 2, Dale Romans, he does sneaky well with these class droppers, especially on the turf. I remember he had a lot of success with maiden class droppers and even upper level claiming class droppers on the turf last year.
And you look at the connections with Dale Romans, they don't have shame in dropping a horse where it looks like that horse can get the win, and that does seem to be the case with Wolf Gourmet. She is taking a class drop from the 50,000 condition claimers last time at Gulfstream, now to this 30,000 non-winners of 2 tag. She broke her maiden on the turf at Ellis Park back in September. My question with her is, it seems like tactically her races kind of changed. She used to show a lot more speed, and then lately she's been coming from off the pace, and her last race was okay. She kind of flattened out against tougher and other than company. 2 starts back was pretty terrible, to be honest, so maybe she just has been running against a bit too tough for her.
That's what I'm hoping for, but if you look at the way Corey Lannery has been riding so far at the winter meet here at Gulfstream, and the way that Dale Romans has been going, I think you can have faith in the 2 here to maybe pair up for a victory, because the barn has been hot as of late. The 2 Hassa was one that you had some interest in, another one who's taking a more aggressive dropping class.
She is. She's coming from other than a company. She was on a yielding turf last time, drawn outside as well in 11 of 11. Got her settled into position, and then she kind of backed up a little bit, if you will, last time. But she's keeping some good company. The winner of that race last time out was Puka, who's grade 2 place, 2 starts back. She finished a bit closer to Cambodia, who did win her next race by 5 and get a 90 by her speed figure. So I think she's coming out of some strong races in New York. I like that she's shipping here and taking that class drop. Hopefully she can transfer some of that back class.
Okay, I wanted to quickly show the stretch run of the number 4 Gracie's Way last race, because I always take a wait and see approach with horses kind of coming from the Mid-Atlantic and not taking drops in class. class, and I didn't see this as a drop in class, but it looked like she had a lot of horse at the quarter pole, and Edgar Prado, excuse me, just trying to save all the ground. And this particular day, she just was so unlucky in not having the ability to find a clear seam to run at. But I thought she ran very well, and I almost wonder if she gets a little bit of an earlier start, how that could kind of impact her. I thought she was too far back last time out. She's a horse, especially on the Tapeta at Presque Isle, that does better when she's more forwardly placed.
It does seem to be the key for her to be a bit more forwardly placed. As you said, she got unlucky last time because there were a lot of horses running on at the end, and there was
like a cavalry charge.
Yeah, all of a sudden, everybody just went towards the wire, and Edgar Prado had horse underneath him. There was just really no place for her to really go, and she had horses coming on both sides of her.
It's a very interesting race as we get to the fourth race on the card, an open $35,000 event. 6 furlongs onto the main track, and this scratch the 4 Love Conquers in here. And unfortunately, I scratched into my top selection. I'm not crazy about him, but we both are on the same page here with the 5 Epic Drama.
And this is kind of one of those races that you just look at, and I've said this often, well, somebody's got to win. So you try and figure out who you might have the most faith in, even if that is just a little bit of faith. And so we both did go with Dave Fox, and this is a horse, he is a little bit tough to take. He is taking a class drop, but it's hard when a horse goes right into starter allowance after breaking his maiden through a DQ. So he didn't technically get to work up through those conditions like some of the other horses have. So he was second by Justin Eck, and he kept trying and trying in that race. Duel at Dusk, the winner, was drifting out and kept pushing him out. Duel at Dusk was disqualified. Epic Drama bumped up to a win that was on a sloppy track as well. As I said, went right into starter allowance company.
It was a tough spot for him last time out, but I also thought that the dropping class here will help him. But he also rode the bias that day, and I say this, on the 15th of December, it really was a good inside speed day, and that's exactly where he was, and he still faltered to a pretty just average 7th place finish in that race. So I think the dropping class is good. I still don't thoroughly trust him, though, so maybe an alternative would be the 7 Grubert, who was kind of against the track that particular day.
He was. He's coming out of the same race, and he has some speed as well, but he came from off of the pace last time out in that starter allowance. And I do want to show a trainer stat on Dave Brady in the past 5 years, going from allowance to claiming on the dirt. He's 23% win, just 3 for 13, but in the money 54% of the time, and it is a positive ROI of 218. I think that Dave Brady does some sneaky good work with these kind of class droppers and around this claiming level, especially. Miguel Vasquez stays in the saddle.
It also looks like there's a couple of horses that probably prefer to go to the lead, so that race is going to be interesting from a pace scenario as well. But that is races 1 through 4. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the 20-cent Rainbow 6, $12,000 in that carryover right after this.
January 28th at Gulfstream Park, an icon takes flight. The world's richest thoroughbred horse race. 12 of the sport's finest horses. One race. $12 million on the line. Watch, wager, witness. Go to PegasusWorldCup.com for more.
And Gulfstream is pulling away. Gulfstream blows them away with an eye-opening performance. Awesome again has won. Gulfstream kicking clear. Someone
Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Gabby Gaudette joined by Acacia Courtney, now looking at the 20-cent Rainbow 6. Of course, it kicks off in the 5th race today, and we do have a carryover just over $12,000 there. So my ticket's a little bit on the more expensive side. I always like to keep it around 50 or under, but I had a very difficult time in trying to find a single in the pick six sequence today. But that said, I feel kind of confidently about this. I like it, but I just couldn't find a single. So we'll start things off with the 4-6. I do think that Consumer Confidence is a horse to beat for Chad Brown, but kind of interested in the 6 Cape Force in there as well. As we move along, going 3 deep in the 6th race, using 3 in the 7th, just 2 in race 8, and then as we cap it off in races 9 and 10, going 3 by 3, $64.80. And did you see this first race kind of the same way I did, just kind of zeroing in around maybe the 4 and the 6?
Well, I used the 6, but a little bit further down. I had some interest in the 2, Kitten's Dilemma, but I am totally in agreement with you, if I could spit it out here, with the number 4, Consumer Confidence. I guess that's where we should start for Chad Brown and Javier Castellano, but he came off of about a 4-month layoff last time out and finally dropped to that claiming level. Has some speed as well, kind of weakened a bit last time out, but that was on the dirt as well. So if you look at it just on the turf, this is actually his first time in claiming company on the turf.
And the reason why I do like him tactically is because it just looks like a lot of horses that close, and he at least has some natural speed. You look to his race actually last March here at Gulfstream when he went 1 mile and a 16th against Maiden Special Weight Company. The race was average. At the time, it was kind of an average field. Not much has kind of come out of there, but comparable to the field that he faces today, it was okay, and he's got speed in a race that I think lacks overall pace.
It does, for sure, and that is why I did land on the number 2, Kitten's Dilemma, who has run in claiming company before, was the beaten favorite last time out, but that was off of a little bit of a freshening. That was his first time in the barn of Mike Maker, Spy Kitten's Joy, and he finished 2nd last time in that claiming company. I think that he's one to be close to the pace, and that's why I liked him tactically as well. I agree that there are a lot of closing types. Certainly the one Collateral Kitten will be coming from way back, but I didn't show this, but Mike Maker, turf maiden claiming within the money last time out. He gets them to win about 33% of the time and 60% in the money, and is a positive ROI. So we always have these positive stats with Mike Maker. It's going back to what we always say about how we do know that they put the horses where they can win.
And I like the fact that they did train more speed into him. I mean, he was a horse that showed a little bit of speed at Belmont, but that was going 1.25 miles, much different than 1 mile and a 16th. So I did think that that was encouraging, that he trained some more speed into him, and that's why I used him 2nd in there. I believe we did have a stat on Consumer Confidence. We'll show that quickly here for Chad.
We did. This is Chad Brown going dirt to turf in route races in maiden claiming. 36% win. It's 5 for 14. He doesn't go into maiden claiming that often, but it's 79% in the money, and it is a 276 ROI. So I'm trying to beat him today. By no means, though, would I leave him off of those multi-race wagers.
2 trainers who probably won on the turf, Mike Maker and Chad Brown, at least in this particular race. The 6 Cape Force, though, I had some interest in for Brian Lynch. He does well with these types of layoffs coming back in turf routes. He's about 19% and a positive ROI. Now, the problem with this horse and why I didn't pick him, although I kind of wanted to, there's really no pace in here, and he looks like a horse that makes that last to first move.
He certainly did, and he ran very well in his debut race back in January of 2016. That was actually in maiden claiming. He started at the maiden claiming 50 level. He ran so well there that they stepped him up to maiden special weight right away before the layoff. Now he's back in the claiming off the layoff, but he does have that late kick that I don't know if he'll have much to run at today.
We shall see as we turn our attention to the 6th race on the card, kicking off the final pick 5 of the day, and we will take a look at your ticket. Did you find a single in the sequence?
I did not. I agree with you. My pick 5 ticket is a little bit more expensive than I normally do as well. We started off in race 6 with 2 horses in here. We did have a key scratch of the morning line favorite and a horse coming off a layoff with Montige in here, but using 2 deep in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th as well with Crowning Affair and Anathela, and then in the 9th race as well, I also used 3 horses. Very interested to see how Canadian Flyer will run off the layoff for Bill Mott, and then Force Motion. It's certainly one to respect. 3 deep to close it out, $54 for me.
And as you said, a key scratch of the number 3, Montige, who figured to take a lot of money here for Michael Tomlinson. And with that key scratch occasion, did you pick him on top, or did you not use him to begin with?
Well, I hadn't used him on top. I'd used him in my top 4 picks for sure, but I was wanting to see one off the layup for sure. Actually, all along I had the number 9, the Sun Wind, on top, who had a little bit of an eventful trip last time out, is getting a bit of a class drop as well. He does have a win at this quirky 7 furlong distance that I like, and last time out he was running against the likes of multiple stakes winner Your Dreams Are Mine, who's just such a hard-knocking horse as well, and he was wide in that race last time. He did show some more speed 2 starts back, but I do like him in this spot.
I like the post position for him. He's got some speed, so he could very well press, or he could stalk. It looks like he's got some versatility to his running style. And on top of that, I think that this is a little bit of an easier field than what he faced, especially last time out. So from a class perspective, I think he definitely fits, if not even might have an advantage here. Now, the 6, Mock My Day, is one that I took a little bit of a shot with because I think he is slowly starting to improve, at least hopefully getting to some of the races that he was running last season. And coming down the lane, I didn't like that he would not switch leads. The rider was trying to get him to, and he just would not do it. But that was coming back off of a layoff. That was the farthest that he's ever gone in distance at 7 furlongs. So at least with 1 under his belt, I think we could see an improvement here today.
And he broke from the outside last time and was wide early out of the chute, out of the 7 furlong chute last time. So it took him a little while to get into position as well. So maybe you can be a little bit forgiving of how he did flatten out late.
We will see. And Luca Panici, just a reminder on the 2, the Great Casby, as Joel Rosario is off all of his mounts today. We get to the 7th race to kick off the final pick 4 of the day. 9 furlongs on the turf for this non-winners of 3 lifetime event, in for that $16,000 tag. And we go to the outside with your top selection, the number 9, Ready Strike, and wanted to go back 2 starts back, not last time, that was on the inner, but to his last turf try on the 19th of November at Aqueduct. And unfortunately, this is what happens in turf racing, especially when you're a closer. You just sometimes cannot find room, and that was the case with him. He just continually got into a world of trouble throughout. But the question for me is, or to you, Acacia, is he one that always tries to find trouble? Does it kind of just jump on his back and follow him around everywhere?
Maybe he does have a little bit of a target on his back, but I thought this was a pretty solid race, all things considered. He tried to close up the middle, and he did have to steady a couple times, as we saw in that replay there. That was on the inner track last time out. You can put a line through that. He did not fare well at all. He's dropping in class for his South Florida move over here, which I do like. He was running against 35,000 non-winners of 3 types up in New York, so I do like that he gets a little bit of class relief with the shipping in today. Now, David Jacobson, we haven't seen his horses perhaps win at such a high percentage in Florida as they do in New York, so that is something to be cognizant of. I wouldn't single him for sure, but I do think off that race 2 starts back, he's one to respect.
And that's the thing, is that sometimes, as you said, a lot of the times we just, 2 trainers that kind of, I wouldn't say dominate, but do very, very well in New York, who don't have as much success down here. Rudy Rodriguez, David Jacobson, just 2 that are kind of top of mind to me. So I do respect him off of that last race, though. But the 5 Hines was who I gave the slight advantage to. And yes, I think that this is kind of a questionable drop. He's immediately dropping from allowance company to the $16,000 tag. And last time out, I actually really liked how he looked physically. They gave him a good warm-up trackside. It looked like he was going to run a good race, and he just did not fire. So maybe, in my opinion, I think he's a horse that prefers a little bit of a firmer going, and he gets that today versus where he's been trying to get to on the turf in the past couple of starts.
And he was running against a very good field last time out as well at Gulfstream, and he came and he was running against that 35,000 optional claiming types. It was a pretty solid field of runners. That was his 2nd start with the blinkers as well, so he certainly has license to improve. It is kind of an aggressive drop off of that race, and maybe taking into account getting the firm turf as well. I had a little bit of interest in the number 6, True Diplomacy, who I'm hoping I might get a bit of a price on in here. And this one was really wide early last time out, but he does have some speed that might be interesting in a race where the speed does look a little questionable to me.
Very good there. That is race 7. To get to race 8, it does kick off our final pick 3 of the day. 7 furlongs on the main track for this A other than condition. Very nice race here. I thought kind of probably at least 2 or 3 ways to go. One of them being the number 7, Crowning Affair. And this is who you land on, this 4-year-old filly for Ralph Nix.
This one's coming back into Allowance Company. She has run an Allowance Company before up in New York, and she's been in pretty solid form. She broke her maiden in April of 2016 here at Gulfstream, and then they did, after a couple solid races over the summer, ship her up to New York, where she was running well too. You look at her last 2 races, I thought they were in some pretty tough races and some pretty solid finishes as well. So she is a little bit of a guess. She's been the beaten favorite a couple times. She's certainly bound to take money in here, but I think off of a little bit of a freshening coming in here, this might be the right spot for her in the right field.
I think she definitely is on the same level here in terms of class, but the 6 Sea Cloud, and I guess after this morning show, people are going to think I'm the biggest Brendan Walsh fan, and I am. I think he's great. He does a great job, but I think last time out, she'll get overlooked because people will think, okay, well, she improved on the slop. But I don't think that that's necessarily the case, and I'm interested to give her one more shot because I think she improved from the cutback in distance to 6.5, and she improved getting Lasix for the first time, so not necessarily the slop. So if she can run the same race as she did last time out, that could put her kind of on the same playing field as the rest of the field. You didn't like her at all.
Well, I kind of wanted to watch one more because last time it was kind of a kitchen sink effect, if you will. She cut back to distance. That was her first time sprinting, the shortest that she'd ever gone. It was the sloppy track. It was the addition of Lasix, and it was a runaway performance. She won by more than 4 lengths. So maybe I wanted to see just one more from her, but you certainly can respect her off of that. And I have so much respect for the connections as well. But I did have some interest in the number 9, Anathela, for Rusty Arnold. Came off of about a 6-month layoff last time out and finished an okay 3rd. Had to steady a little bit in that race as well, but we do have a trainer stat on Rusty Arnold. 2nd after the layoff in the money last time out on the dirt. He wins about 21% of the time, 50% in the money, and an excellent ROI of 295. So that made me have even a little bit more interest in her.
Okay, and I forgot to mention this, though. Morea, the number 5 horse, did go against Crowning Affair in her 2 starts back. And this filly is coming in, or mare, excuse me, is coming in off of a pretty sizable layoff. But I like her form and how she kind of fared against Crowning Affair, who will be probably a shorter price. And in that race against Crowning Affair, when she won, I thought she did all the dirty work, kind of dueling on the inside, and she still hung on pretty gamely. So she's one that I had interest in.
And that's certainly fair. She is one to respect. Now, she's coming off of about an 8-month layoff. I remember when she broke her maiden, she was the only one with experience in a field of first-time starters, first of all. I think that she really outclassed the rest of the field in there. She was the heavy, heavy favorite. She had the speed, and it was kind of like, finally, she got her day to get the maiden win after running well in her first couple of starts. I did take a little bit of a wait-and-see approach with her as well, but if she does run back to some of those races before the layoff, she is one to respect.
We've got some competitive races, just judging by our top selections. It's like a rainbow on the bottom half of our screen. As we get to the 9th race, the first half of the late daily double, 5 furlongs on the turf, a nice allowance optional claimer. And hey, we finally agree on one, and that is the 3 Forced Motion. We'll take a look at her last performance here, and it was a victory. This particular gelding, he is 3 for 3, unbeaten at turf sprints. But we can see him breaking this day. He is the number 1, and he just breaks a little bit slowly. Honestly, it just looked a little lethargic in the first half of the race. And with that, he had a circle extremely wide, widest of all. The rider really not trying to save any ground whatsoever. But I think this is how the horse wants to be ridden. He wants to be out in the clear and do his thing in the center of the racetrack. And I love the stride of this horse, just kind of a nice, long, reaching stride. And I think he can translate that now stepping up in class.
He is. He's a beautiful mover. And they tried to step him up into Stakes Company Company a couple starts back. I think the biggest issue with that in the 49er is that it was going a mile and a 16th. This is a horse that wants to go 5 furlongs on the grass for sure, and he does manage to somehow break slow at Gulfstream Park West and close in the middle of the field and still win by 2.5 lengths. So he's 3 for 3 at this distance. He's 2 for 3 at Gulfstream Park. He's definitely the horse to be. And interestingly enough, in all 4 of his starts, he's never been the favorite before, but I do certainly expect him to take much more money today.
He will, but there are other horses in here that have kind of that back class, and one of them being the 5 Beantown Saint, who's gone against Graded Stakes Company before, but he is one, whereas I think the number 3 in here, Forced Motion, is on that upward swing. He might be kind of just leveling off now.
He's coming out of Stakes Company into this $25,000 tag for John Service. He might be leveling out for sure. Interestingly, in a race where we're all, or a day where we're all over the place, we actually agree on all 4 in here, but I think you do have to respect Beantown Saint because he has run solidly against some very tough competition. I alluded to this earlier, but Canadian Flyer coming off of about a 6-month layoff, last ran in July at Saratoga. He's another one coming out of good races, though.
He is a big rock. He finished behind last time out. Bill Mott can get horses ready off a layoff for sure, and he looks like he's been working pretty well at Pace and Park. 5 furlongs, to me, is the question for a horse like this, because it looks like in the past he's done well at the mile, sometimes even 7.5 furlongs. So in a race where there looks to be really proven 5 furlong specialist, I have a feeling that he might want longer, but there's no doubt about it that Bill Mott can get a horse ready off the layoff. As we get to the 10th and final, going out to the turf at the mile, an open $16,000 race. And once again, kind of in a different directions here, the 6 Ginger Goose was where you went.
Yeah, well, you actually went to the Ginger Goose.
I can't read either.
That's okay. You know, you like Ginger Goose, so that's fine.
I'll get to that in a second.
We'll go there in a minute. I went with the number 5 for All the Marbles, who does have the speed for trainer Dave Katz and getting some class relief, too. I think you can be forgiving of that last race. The comment is bump at the start, but he still managed to get out to the front there last time, and he needs to be on the front end, so that is the thing. But there may be a couple others, perhaps Dr. Goldfarb, who might show some speed from the outside, but I thought that For All the Marbles might be the fastest in here.
I could see him definitely being the fastest, and I respect him. I use him in the pick 6. Now, the 6 Ginger Goose, now we finally get to him. I was confused because you sent in a stat for Eddie Broom, so we'll show that here for Ginger Goose.
We will. Eddie Broom with winners last time out on the turf in mid-level, claiming it is just 3 for 18, 17% win, but he has finished in the money 39% of the time, and it is a good ROI of 218, so definitely a positive ROI. Now, it took quite a while for this horse to get his non-winners of 3 condition last time out, but they go right to the 16 open level, so he stays kind of in the next logical spot, I think.
I think this is a tougher spot than what he's been in the past couple of starts, but I like his tactical running style. He should be able to just sit right behind the pace, and as I kind of alluded to earlier, Corey Lannery just been riding in great form as of late, and of course the 10-star Contender is one to definitely use there in the finale. Javier Castellano in the saddle got a beautiful trip last time out.
A beautiful trip last time with Emisel Jaramillo aboard, but that was against this open company as well, so he's proved that he can win against these types.
All right, that's races 1 through 10. Make sure you come out and join us here at Gulfstream Park today. We've got a nice carryover in the Rainbow 6, over $12,000, and a great betting card today. Best of luck.